Welcome back. In this video we're going to discuss resource groups, which are one of the options that are readily available from the AWS Management Console. Allows you to view, manage, and automate tasks on multiple AWS resources at one time. They're ideal for grouping AWS resources that all compose of a particular application, for example. Rather than having to remember which resources belong to which application, you can add these resources to a resource group and let AWS remember for you. You can then perform bulk actions against these grouped resources. A resource group is a collection of AWS resources in the same region that match the results of a query. And you can create a resource group from a query based on resource tags or from CloudFormation stacks, and we'll go into that a little bit. Resource tags are optional metadata that you can assign to each AWS resource, and a tag must contain a label called a key and may have optionally contain a value. For example, you may tag your production resources using a key named environment and a value named production. Tag keys and values can include letters, numbers, spaces, and some special characters, the plus, the minus, the equals, period, underscore, a colon, slash, and a @ symbol. You can assign multiple tags to a resource, up to 50 per resource. So tag keys and values are case sensitive. To create a resource group using tags, you can query based on the tag key or you can do both the tag key and its value. All right, and AWS CloudFormation has stacks, and we'll get into that much later in chapter 11, and we'll learn more about CloudFormation. But it's a way to automate your AWS workloads and lets you programmatically deploy and manage AWS resources as a single unit, and that unit is called a stack. And then you can create resource groups that contain some or all of the resources in a CloudFormation stack. And then you can choose all the resources in the stack or filter for a resource type, such as EC2 instances in the stack, or EC2 security group, or S3 bucket, etc., and create a resource group based off that information. So let's go to our console here, and let's go. Alright, so in the S3 console, but well, let's see. Let's go. What I want to do first is let's go to EC2 and let's create a couple resources. Alright, so I'm going to create instance. I'm going to create a Linux box. It's going to be a T2 micro. You know what we can do? I'm going to do 2 instances, and then we're going to add storage. We're going to just leave it at the 8 gigabits, which is fine. Okay, now we're going to add tags. So this is the key value pair that you can add as a resource tag. So on these 2 machines, I'm going to add a key of server type. That's the name of the key, and then I'm going to call these production or prod. Okay, and so we'll do that, and as you can see, I can do up to 50 key value pairs, right? So I could add another OS type, and then Linux, right? I could have all kinds of different tags so that I could create different resource groups. like I could say I want all my production, servers that are Linux, right? And then be able to manage that, or and things like that. So I'm going to go next. The security group is just fine. It allows anyone to SSH into my box, which is probably not the best. You can change this to just my IP, right? Which is a little more secure. So let's just do that, and then we'll review and launch. Alright, so I don't have any key pairs, so what this is saying, to SSH into a box or to remote desktop into a box, you need to have a security key pair, and so I don't have a security key pair created. So I'm going to create a new pair. This is just going to be Resource Group Demo, and I'll download the key pair just in case. I don't think I'll need it, but if I wanted to log into the server, I need to download it. So I'll download the key pair. So I've got the key pair there so that I can SSH if I need to. So I'll launch these instances. I can view my instances. So they're in the pending state. They're being built. So while they're being built, I'm going to launch one more instance. It's going to be next. Alright, so we're going to do one. We're going to go add storage, add tags, and we're going to add a tag, and we're going to go server type, and this is going to be test, and we'll add another one, OS type, and this is going to be Linux. Alright, so we got that. We got the security group. We'll do my IP again. I just prefer that. I don't like leaving boxes open. Alright, and then so we're going to launch that. And so now I can go ahead and choose an existing. So I've got a resource group demo, so I don't have to create a new pair. I acknowledge that I have access to this key. It's right down here, so I know I have access to it. So I launch that instance, and we go view. Alright, so my other two are running, but since I really don't need them to be running, I'm going to go ahead and stop these instances. No sense in adding cost. And then we'll give it just a second here. Alright, and so this third one is running now. And so then we'll stop that. Okay, so I've got three instances, two technically designated as production and one as designated as test. Right, so I can go look at the tags, right? So this one is server type is test, it's Linux. This one here is server type is prod, and OS type is Linux. All right, so like I said, we've got these three instances, and they're all stopped right now. So I'm going to go up here, and we're talking about resource groups, and the resource group and tag editor it should be in your favorites, located right here. So we'll go to the resource groups and tag editor, and we'll create a resource group. Alright, so we can do a tag based or a CloudFormation stack based. Since we don't have a CloudFormation stack, we'll get into that in chapter 11, but we've got tags, so we're going to use the tag based, and then we're going to select the resource type, and so we want EC2 instance, and then the tag key. It's got two of our key types here, so we can do OS type, and we can do Linux, right? And we can add that, and then we can add server type, and then we're going to do prod, right? So I want all my prod servers, right? And then preview group resources. Okay, there it is down here. So I've got yeah, they don't have a name on them. I should have named them. That was another tag that you can put on there. All right, so but I pulled out the two because of the OS type Linux, and the server type is production. All right, so then I can create the group name. I can do prod servers, and then prod servers, Linux servers. Right. Group tag, we can just do name, prod Linux server. Let's see, I think you can do spaces. Create group. Okay, can't have the spaces in the name. Okay, so I've got the resource group created. So now if I go to save resource groups, now I have my prod Linux servers, in which I can go here. I've got these OS instance types, and then I can manage my services from here. So at least I can identify them. I can do things with them. I can export them to a CSV. And then I can pull up that instance and see that it's stopped. Let's go ahead and go to here and the tags, and I can manage the tags. So I could add a tag, and you probably should. It makes it easier, right? Linux SRV01, and we're going to save that. So now, see, because I named that name tag, I put in a tag called name, and whatever I put in the value now becomes the instance name. And so it's it's a way of also identifying your instances and services and things like that. So adding a name tag is also helpful in identifying resources. So that is resource groups, and but we'll go into a little bit more detail about tags here. So all right, you want to create a resource group based on tags. You first need to tag the resources you want to include in the group, and thankfully the console makes this easy. Choosing the resource link in the navigation bar and choose tag editor. To get started with tag editor, create a query to find resources you want to tag. So we kind of did that, and select at least one region and one or more resource types. You can select all resources if you want. Optionally, you can list resources that already have existing tags. For example, you may want to add an additional tag to all resources that already have the environment tag. In addition to querying for resources that have a tag but no value, you can also query for resources that don't have a specific tag. For example, you may want to exclude resources that don't have the environment tag. All right. If you don't specify a tag in the query, it will list the name tag key for any resources that you have. That's why it is important to use the name tag key to add the name. And then you can customize the view of columns by choosing the cog icon, and you can edit existing tags individually or in bulk. And you can also create new tags. So definitely ways to do more with the tagging for the resource groups. All right, got a little video here. Sorry. All right. Tagging strategies, right? So how you use tags is your preference and based on your organization's requirements. But if you're not sure where to start, you can use tags to organize resources along the following broad categories: technical, automation, business, security. Keep in mind that you can use multiple strategies together or come up with your own tagging scheme. So technical, one tagging strategy is to tag according to technical properties of a resource. You can use the name tag to assign a name to an individual resource. For example, you may tag EC2 instance hosting a web server with the name tag and the value web server 01. Many AWS service consoles recognize the name tag and display it alongside the resources, such as EC2 instances, as I showed just a moment ago, but EBS volumes, VPC, security groups. Be careful though, tags don't have to be unique, so it's possible to inadvertently give different resource a name tag with the same value, right? So if I go back here to my console and go to this server here and go to tags and manage my tags, so I can do name and I can do Linux SRV01, right, and save it. And so now I've got two Linux SRV01s because these tags do not have to be unique, right? It doesn't understand that they should be unique, so you have to keep track and make sure that you don't duplicate a name, right? So the tag values do not have to be unique. You can use the environment tag to specify whether the resource is part of your production, test, or development, and then you may apply an environment tag with a value of development to a VPC that hosts development workloads, but it's really all up to you how you decide. You may also want to create an application role tag to classify the type of role a resource performs. For example, you could tag an EC2 instance with a value of web server or database server, depending on its function, right? Right, so let's do our test box right here, right? So we're in the server type is test, but maybe we could add, you could have a role, and this could be, web server, right? And so, your tagging strategy is really up to you, but it's very flexible and easy to use. But once again, be careful. The names, the values do not have to be unique. All right, so that concludes our resources and taggings. In our next video, we'll start getting into console mobile applications use, and the command line interface use. So I'll see you in the next video.